Now, how close are we to having web-based mobile apps that are indistinguishable from native apps, or are we already there?
Well, we like to think we're already there. Our application is at least as popular, if not more popular, than the native apps that we had before. Our native apps won Apple Design Awards, so the standard that we had to match with our web app was very high. And certainly, we've had to be very innovative in our use of web technologies, and I guess that's a nice way of saying we've had to create a lot of hacks to create an experience which does match what you can achieve with native technologies. And I think we're in the privileged position of being able to put enough investment in that we can achieve that. But it is a very hard thing to do at the moment, and certainly to get that final kind of 10% that gets you out of that uncanny valley of having a web app that kind of sort of thinks like it might be a native app but is not quite there, to having something that really does feel as good, requires too much investment at the moment. And I think that as these technologies improve, we should be able to achieve that much more easily.
What have been the major recent breakthroughs in mobile web browsers that have started to make full-fledged apps possible?
I think, from my perspective, the main improvements have been in debugging and tooling. It's not necessarily the advances that were made in the browsers themselves, although certainly we've seen fantastic improvements in BlackBerry browser particularly, and also with the recent release of Chrome for Android, there's a lot of promise there on the Android platform. But we certainly feel that the state of the art in terms of tooling for debugging web applications on mobile has improved dramatically in the last 18 months.
People on the business side, do you feel like they need an app deprogramming? Is there a bias towards native apps?
I think native apps, from a publisher's perspective, are quite an interesting temptation, because when we were in the analog world and we were printing magazines and newspapers, we had control of the content origination and also the packaging of content and the distribution. And then the internet arrived and we kind of lost control of packaging and distribution, because people were able to link to and cite individual articles and pieces of content outside of that packaging model that the publisher had. And with the arrival of apps, you kind of got that packaging and distribution element back. You could produce a single piece, a single neat package of content. And I think that's very appealing to publishers. But at the same time, I think we have to recognize that the web has given us all these great benefits and advantages, which we lose with native applications. And so I think there are arguments on both sides, but I'm an advocate of the web, and I think it has a lot to say for publishers.
Last question for you. How do you see app stores evolving over the next couple of years?
I think app stores are interesting creatures because, for small businesses and people who are producing relatively unknown applications, I think they're a fantastic way of getting recognition and aiding discoverability for application. For really large organizations like us, I mean, we've been around for over 100 years. It's not a discoverability problem that we have. People know the name of the FT, and if they want our applications, they will search for us by name. So the App Store is not appealing to us from a discoverability point of view. And I think that App Store operators will have an interesting challenge working with that kind of use case. Whereas, discovering small, new, innovative applications from unknown publishers, I think, will always be a great use for app stores. Beyond that, I don't know. This isn't really my area. So I'm an engineer, so I just make the things work.
Well, thanks so much for being with us. Appreciate you taking the time.